Okay, let's go to the next part, formal and informal education. I mentioned before, and I think it's quite important to know what are the difference between formal and informal education. So in general, as I mentioned, education is not just about the school system. It's all the concept that we learn in education, of course, in education official systems like schools, also through society. Like we learn from our family, our friends, then we learn from TV, we learn from nowadays internet. In our time, I think because we didn't grow up with internet. I didn't actually. So for my generation, we grew up with normal TV from Iran that was very ideologic. So whatever they played, it was for brainwashing, to be honest. Then later we could be able to access illegally to international channels through satellite, and we install and we learn more about different countries. So this is an external education you receive. And then how your parents are. If the parents are traditional, normally you don't get that access. If they are traditional, they are modern and open, so that's a different case. And nowadays with internet, I think the traditional education that we have is not enough. I had some students that they come to me from high school. They will come to me and telling me that blah blah teacher is not good enough, because whatever she's teaching us, we can learn from internet, YouTube by ourselves. Why we should come to school? Because whatever they are teaching us, we know better. And when you look at their textbook, it's true. Whatever they were in the textbook was so low level for that level of education that you would really question why they are coming to school wasting their time. So these are kind of informal type of education. So they have two types, formal and informal. Let's go more in depth. So if I want to describe what is formal education, I can say it's the learning of academic facts and something like concepts through a kind of a structure and a strategy and pragmatic curriculum. It's kind of a standard outline of what a child in certain age needs to learn. This comes from ancient Greek thinkers, and for centuries we were like, not us, but I mean like researchers were doing studies on different topics, what we need to teach in general for the current generation through, for example, logical, systematic method of learning. So if I want to say, in early times, education was just available to higher classes for the privileged. Kind of for now is somehow for some countries is still the same. This privileged class, they had the tools to access to, for example, scholarly materials, the luxury and leisure of time to learn. The people that don't have access to this are the people that are the lower level, that they have to work all the time. The kids have to work, otherwise the family doesn't have even a piece of bread to eat. Then we have this industrial revolution, and urbanization comes in, is highlighted. And then during this period, we had the, for example, development of state sponsorships or publicly funded institutions, and some other social changes that make education more accessible for a general population. It wasn't anymore for only a specific group. Then later, many families of the middle class could merge into this type of education system, and of course new opportunities for schooling was arising at this time. Going back to the US, the modern US educational system is actually the result of this progress. Today, basic education is consider a right and responsibility for everybody. The United Nations outlines actually that education is a basic human right, and it's in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. You can check it online. It is, I can search, I can give you the citation if you need. So when you look at it, and it's one of the basic human rights, and some people don't have access to it, you would question the sanity of the governments that are not providing it. Well, I can say this expectation of this type of system is normally focused on the formal education with the curriculum or testing system that ensure that the students learning from the facts and the concepts that are being taught. So it's kind of a structure that a society want to implement in the next or current generation. We can say, for example, in Finland, the system of thought is the culture is moving toward of a more modern and 21st century system. People are have the freedom to be who they want to be. We don't have to force them to think the way we want. We let them to think the way they are, and through that we improve. But in a more traditional setting, Thailand, Iran, I'm sure in Philippines and Myanmar, kind of the same, that it is what the government wants you to learn, and that they structure everything, all the subjects toward that, rather than thinking about the global issues. They mostly focus on what locally and ideologically they want to implement, unfortunately. So that's how the formal education work in different settings. If we talk about informal education, it's actually, if I want to compare it, the formal education is, I can describe it as learning about cultural values, norms, and some kind of expected behaviors through societal participation. This informal education normally goes hand in hand with the formal education, such as media in general, especially internal. If we are talking about a specific region and their education system, the family members, actually how the parents are teaching the kids, are they, if they are traditional and believe in the system, they would follow exactly what the system wants, and if not, how they are educating them, or through social groups such as friends, or for example, art classes, recreational institutions, stuff like that. This type of learning actually the first happen at home, as I mentioned, or in, for example, community spaces, and through education system as well. Like they have extracurricular activity for kids that can be counted as informal education because they don't have any grading system for it. It doesn't have any standard testing. Our earliest learning experiences generally happens through parents, relatives, and other close members of the family or our community. Through this type of education, the informal education, we actually learn how to dress for different occasions, how to perform regular life routines like shopping for and for something, and preparing food, for example, and how to keep our bodies clean. These are the basics that we are learning through this type of communities. Cultural transmissions, in another hand, refers to the way people come to learn the value, beliefs, and social norms of their culture. Both informal and formal education actually includes cultural transmission. For example, given an example of the US, a student will learn about cultural aspect of the modern history in the United States, history classrooms. In that same class, the student might learn for example, cultural norms for asking a classmate out on a date through passing notes and whispered conversations, you know what I mean? As well as learning how to respectfully, for example, share your opinion and actually meet the deadlines for assignments. These are informal education happening through education system.